the story of a cat named North. When the first street lanterns began to light up in the coastal town of Lasview, a cat walked softly and confidently across the roof of the old lighthouse keeper's house, which stood higher than all other houses on the cape. He was large, silver, with a long, fluffy tail that resembled winter mist above the sea. His name was North. That's what the old lighthouse keeper, Ellen, a woman with eyes the color of stormy surf, had called him. Ellen had lived at the lighthouse for 40 years, and during all that time her beam had never let ships lose their way, nor appeared on a cold December night, when the wind howled so loudly it seemed the ocean itself was rising onto the dunes. The kitten slipped out of the darkness like a silver spark, and Ellen Sidger came with the northern wind. So you will be North. Chapter 1. The Last Night of Light. When this story began, the lighthouse had long been working on automation. Ellen was old. Her hands trembled, but she still did her morning rounds, checked the mechanisms, and talked to North as if he understood every word. In truth, he understood more than she thought. That cold night, when fog was thickening in the harbor, Ellen felt her strength leaving her. She sat by the window, wrapped in a wool blanket, and North lay on her knees, sensing a strange, troubling smell, the smell of parting. Cats feel things earlier than humans. North, she whispered, stroking his head. If I could, I would live another 100 years. But everything has its end. Only the lighthouse must live. You will be in charge here. You know the house better than anyone. You know the way upstairs. You know where the buttons are, where the levers are. Funny, isn't it? A cat, the keeper of a lighthouse. But North did not find it funny. He pressed his head to her palm and purred softly. Ellen fell asleep at the window and never woke again. When dawn came, the cat sat beside her, quietly looking at the gray waves. He did not cry. Cats do not cry like humans, but something in his chest pulled tight, like a ship rope thrown into a storm. And then North understood. Now he was responsible for the light. Chapter 2. The Lighthouse Cat. After Ellen's funeral, the lighthouse was officially closed. The town decided that modern navigation systems were enough, and the old lighthouse was merely a memory. Workers came, shut off the power, sealed the door, and left. No one noticed the silver shadow slipping under the roof into the little gap that Ellen had never sealed for fresh air. She used to joke. At night, North slipped through the walls, jumped along the stairs as if they had been built for cat paws. He reached the lamp room and stared at the dark, motionless Fresnel lens. The moon reflected in his eyes. As long as the lighthouse lived, Ellen was close. Now it was silent with the town. But one day, exactly a month after her death, a fog, thick as milk, rose over the sea. Fishing boats returning from the catch could not see the shore. North heard the anxious sounds of engines, faraway voices. People were losing their way. Something inside him jerked. He remembered how Ellen climbed up every evening, how she flipped the very lever. The cat dashed up the stairs. The lamp room was dark, but North leaped to the panel. He remembered the metallic clicking sound, similar to the ticking of a clock. He struck the levers with his paw, scraped the rubber switch with his claw, by chance or memory. But electricity came alive. The old mechanism groaned, trembled, and then the lens flashed, as if a giant eye opened again. In town, people whispered in surprise. The lighthouse turned on, but it was shut down, and fishermen said they saw the light and made it to shore. From that night on, whenever the sea demanded light, North turned it on. Chapter 3. The Legend of the Silver Keeper. No humans knew who switched on the lighthouse. Some thought the automation malfunctioned. Others believed Ellen's spirit lingered. Still others suspected local teens of mischief. Only children sometimes spotted a silver figure on the roof. "A cat!" they cried. A big, fluffy cat. He's sitting on the very edge of the roof. But adults only laughed. Thus began the legend of the Silver Keeper, the spirit can, who watched over the sea. North didn't know he had become a legend. He was simply doing what felt right. By day, he wandered between dunes, listened to the grass, sometimes came down to town. People fed him, but no one knew where he lived. The mysterious silver cat appeared on the pier, at the fish market, on the town hall roof. He always returned to the lighthouse. It was his home, his world, his duty. Chapter 4. The Stranger. One day, a young engineer named Johan arrived in Lasfjord to investigate the strange activity of the lighthouse. When he climbed the spiral staircase and entered the lamp room, Nor sat on the mechanism, his tail curled around his paws. Johan froze. "Hey, cat, how did you get in here?" North looked at him without fear. The cat saw something familiar in this man. The same weary kindness Ellen once had. The engineer came closer and noticed that the power switch had clearly been moved by a paw. He blinked. "You're trying to say," he crouched down, "that you'd turn on the lighthouse?" The cat didn't answer. But he didn't run either. Johan examined the panels for a long time and realized the mechanism was tired, but still functioning. Someone really had been reaching for the lever, and the claw marks on the rubber button left traces. He smiled. "Want me to fix it? It's important to you, isn't it?" North tilted his head slightly. "Look," Ellen used to call his understanding gaze. From then on, the engineer visited every day. He cleaned the lens, oiled the gears, strengthened the cables, and the cat followed him, as if checking his work. When the job was done, Johan stroked the cat. "You know," he said, "I won. Titilagnone. Let them think the lighthouse lives on its own." North nudged his hand gently. He trusted this man. Chapter 5. The Storm of the Century. In spring, the sea raised an alarm. A huge cyclone approached. The wind grew stronger daily. Waves crashed higher against the rocks. Fishermen hid their boats in distant coves. On the third day, the clouds thickened so heavily, it looked like night had come early. The sea roared like a wounded beast. The town's streetlights were turned off. Electricity flickered. Johan ran to the lighthouse through the icy rain. He needed to check if the system could withstand the storm. But North was already there. He stood by the window, staring at the raging waves. The engineer almost screamed through the gale. "If the power goes out, I don't know if we can restart it." But when lightning split the sky, the town grid failed, and everything plunged into darkness. The lighthouse flared, first weak, trembling, then brighter, brighter still. Johan couldn't believe his eyes. "Impossible," he whispered. "There is no power." But North knew the lighthouse's secrets. Beneath the mechanisms, under the floorboards, Ellen had installed an old backup wind generator. She'd joked, "It'll work as long as the wind blows." And now the wind blew like never before, and the lighthouse lived. All night North stayed by the lens, guarding the light like a friend's heart. Johan sat beside him, holding the cat so he wouldn't be blown aside. The storm roared, but the light stood strong, and thanks to it, a ship lost near the cape found its way. Later the captain said, "We saw the light when we thought it was over. It saved us." Chapter 6. The one who guards the sea. After the storm, people no longer saw the lighthouse as a relic. They said, If not for the light, we'd have lost another ship. Who turned it on? They say it's that silver cat. The legend grew. Johann proposed restoring the lighthouse officially, but he did not mention North, only explained its importance. The repair work was long but careful. Workers didn't touch the cracks and little passages where the cat lived. They got used to the Silver Guardian watching them. Some brought him fish, others a blanket. And when the renovation ended, Johann said, "Officially the lighthouse has no keeper, but we all know who he really is." North became not merely a cat. He became a symbol of Chapter 7. A new chapter. A year later, a girl named Lena arrived in town. She had lost her hearing after an illness and often felt lonely. Her mother hoped the sea air and new surroundings would help. Lena wandered to the lighthouse and saw a silver cat on the steps. North approached her, sat down, and stared. She smiled. For the first time in a long while, she touched his soft fur and departed the vibration, reaching her through her hands. She understood. This cat spoke without words, louder than anyone. Lena came every day. North showed her his roots, where seagulls slept, where the most beautiful waves broke, where Ellen had once grown laurel bushes. Johann sometimes saw them together and said, "I think he chose himself a new friend." And it was true. The cat who lived between wind and sea found someone who heard the world differently, with feelings, with heart. Chapter 8. A light that never goes out. Years passé. Lena grew up and entered Maritime Academy, inspired by the story of how light can save lives. Johann became the port's chief engineer. And North, he still lived in the lighthouse, aging slowly but gracefully, like a sea stone polished by waves. Long ago, Ellen had said, "You will guard the light." And he did. Sometimes, in very quiet evenings, when the sea breathed calmly, Lena climbed to the top of the lighthouse. North lay by the lens, the light reflecting in his eyes. She stroked him and spoke softly. The world could not hear her voice, but the cat could. "You are the true keeper. As long as you're here, no one will get lost." The cat closed his eyes and purred, and somewhere in the deep sea, the waves splashed gratefully. Epilogue. They say that the Cape of Lasfjord never has truly dark nights. They say that if you look at the lighthouse peak, you may see a silver shadow walking by the lens. They say that ships caught in fog near the cape hear a soft purr, as if the wind itself hums the way, they say. But those who truly know the truth simply smile, because they know. As long as the silver cat North lives in the lighthouse, the light will never fade.